welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look at a really practical resource if you're working on your English skills. It's an episode from the SpeakUp Sessions English Podcast, and this one's aimed right at B1 learners.
Yeah, the title is Better English, Better Life B1 Level English Listening and Speaking Practice.
Exactly.
And what strikes me right away is, how it mixes things up. You get conversation, but also like actual learning tips and chances to practice.
Right. It's not just theory. It feels very grounded, very relatable for someone at that B1 stage.
Definitely.
So our mission here isn't just to, summarize the episode. We want to really dig into what's most useful, the key takeaways.
And figure out how you, the listener, can actually apply these ideas in your own daily life.
Yes, to make real progress and, crucially, keep that motivation high. Okay, so let's dive in.
Sounds good. So the SpeakUp Sessions episode kicks off with a pretty simple chat between the hosts, Emma and Liam. They're just talking about their daily routines.
Okay.
Well, Emma talks about waking up around 7 a.m., the standard things. Makes her bed, grabs coffee, sometimes eggs and toast, sometimes fruit and yogurt.
Right, the usual morning ritual for many.
Then she mentions showering, getting dressed, and heading off for a typical 9-to-5 workday.
Okay, pretty standard. And Liam, you mentioned a contrast.
Yeah, Liam's different. He's up earlier, like 6:30 a.m.,
Oh, wow.
goes for a run first thing, then has a smoothie and gets ready for his work, which involves teaching English online.
Interesting. So different schedules, different morning fuels. It's a nice, simple way to show variety.
Exactly. And what's clever about it, especially for learners, is how it naturally brings in that core vocabulary.
You mean words related to the routine itself?
Precisely. Words like wake up, make my bed, toast, smoothie, they just pop up naturally in the conversation.
Which is so much better than just learning a list, right? You hear it used.
Absolutely. It's vocabulary and context, which really helps it stick.
It makes you think, doesn't it? About your own routine. While you're doing those everyday things,
right?
Maybe making breakfast. Could you squeeze in a little English listening?
Well, that ties perfectly into the next big point from the episode. Building good English learning habits. Daily habits.
The power of consistency. What kind of habits do they suggest?
They really stress engaging with English every single day, even if it's not for long.
Okay, like how long are we talking?
Liam actually mentions just 10 minutes of listening daily can make a difference, and he suggests podcasts, actually.
Well, we approve of that suggestion. What else?
Emma adds reading short English texts. Could be news articles, maybe simple stories. Just getting that reading practice in.
So listening and reading.
Yeah.
The input side of things.
Yes, but then they push towards the active side, too. They really recommend speaking out loud, repeating things you hear.
Getting your mouth moving, basically, not just passively consuming.
Exactly. And that leads into a specific technique they highlight called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, break that down for us. What does that involve?
So shadowing is where you listen to someone speaking English,
Right.
And you try to speak at the same time as them, copying their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm as closely as you can.
Oh, interesting. So you're like their vocal shadow, literally echoing them immediately.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's quite an active process.
And why is that supposed to be so effective?
Well, the thinking is it trains multiple things at once. It sharpens your listening skills because you have to focus intently. But it also works your pronunciation muscles, getting you used to forming the sounds and rhythms of English. It kind of bypasses translating in your head.
Right. You're aiming for that muscle memory, that natural flow, not just reading words off a page.
Precisely. It helps internalize the cadence of the language.
So thinking practically then, how could someone weave these habits in Maybe shadowing a newsreader for a minute during a commute.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Or reading a short online article and then reading a paragraph or two out loud afterwards.
Yeah, even just finding 5 or 10 minutes for focused listening or speaking practice seems much more doable than aiming for an hour straight away.
Absolutely. Small, consistent steps. Which actually brings us nicely to the next section of their episode, dealing with motivation.
Ah, yes, the big one. Language learning is definitely a marathon. It's easy to lose steam sometimes.
And they acknowledge that right up front. They say, look, feeling tired, feeling bored sometimes, that's totally normal. Don't beat yourself up about it.
That's so important to hear, isn't it? It normalizes the struggle.
It really does. And their advice is, when you feel that dip, try to reconnect with why you started learning English in the first place.
Your why, right? What was the initial spark? Travel, a job, connecting with family or friends.
Exactly. Remembering that bigger goal can really help push you through the tougher days.
That's a good prompt for anyone listening.
Yeah.
What is your why? Maybe even write it down somewhere visible.
That's a great tip. And they also talk about making the learning process itself more enjoyable.
How so? Like finding fun ways to engage.
Yeah, things like watching movies or TV shows you like, but in English, maybe with subtitles first, then without.
Or listening to music. Trying to catch the lyrics.
Definitely. Or playing video games that use English.
Yeah.
Anything that makes it feel less like homework and more like, well, fun.
Learning through immersion in things you already enjoy. Makes sense.
Yeah. And they also mentioned that taking breaks is okay. It's not about pushing yourself relentlessly until you burn out.
But the key is not giving up entirely, right?
Yeah.
Step away if you need to, but come back.
Exactly. Consistency over intensity, even if that consistency includes planned breaks.
Do they offer any other, concrete motivation tips?
They do. Things like setting really small, achievable daily goals. Maybe just learning, say, 5 new words a day.
Okay, manageable chunks.
And rewarding yourself when you hit those goals. Like, I studied for 20 minutes. Now I can watch an episode of my favorite show in English, perhaps.
Ah, nice one. Double win.
They also suggest finding a community. Joining an online group of learners, maybe, for that shared experience and support.
That sense of community can be really powerful, knowing you're not alone in the journey.
For sure. So for you listening, maybe think about what your biggest motivation hurdles are. Is it time? Boredom? Feeling stuck?
And could some of these ideas, small goals, rewards, finding fun materials, connecting with others, could they help you navigate those challenges?
It's worth considering. Now, shifting gears slightly, they also touch on a bit of grammar.
Okay, essential, but sometimes daunting for learners. What do they focus on?
They keep it very relevant to the theme of routines. They focus on the present simple tense.
Ah, the tense we use for habits, facts, and regular occurrences. Makes perfect sense.
Exactly. It's fundamental for talking about your day. They give clear examples like, I wake up at 6, or she drinks tea. We study English. Basic subject-verb structure.
Simple, clear examples. Did they mention the S rule?
Yes, they did. They specifically pointed out adding the S for he, she, and a it. He eats breakfast, she works at home.
Good. It's a common sticking point, that third person's S. So, a concise, practical grammar point directly related to the topic.
Very practical. And when you think about it, how often do you use the present simple when describing your day or habits? All the time.
Absolutely. You can't really talk about routines without it.
So mastering it is pretty crucial for B1 level communication.
Definitely. Okay, so from habits in grammar, where did the episode go next?
They moved into some very practical real-life conversation practice. They used a role-play scenario.
Oh, like acting out a situation.
Yeah, a really common one. ordering at a coffee shop.
Perfect. Everyone needs to do that. What did it cover?
Just the basics, like the barista asking, hello, what would you like to drink?
And the customer respond, maybe, hi, I'd like a cappuccino, please.
Exactly that. And then maybe the barista offers food. Sure. Would you like anything to eat?
Yes, a chocolate muffin, please. Something simple.
Right. Then the payment, no problem. That's $5. Here you go.
And the closing. Thank you. Enjoy your coffee. Thanks. Just a quick, typical interaction.
But what they did, which is really helpful, is they included a listen and repeat section for the key customer phrases.
So drilling those specific lines like, I'd like a cappuccino, please.
Yes, and a muffin, please. Here you go. Thank you. Getting you to actually say them out loud.
That active repetition is so important for building confidence, isn't it? Getting the phrases to feel natural.
It really is. It helps move it from just understanding to actually being able to produce the language. Automaticity, like you said earlier.
Did they suggest how to practice this beyond just repeating?
Yeah, they gave a very practical tip. Practice the whole role-play dialogue, maybe with a friend or a language partner if you have one.
Or even just by yourself.
Or even just talking to yourself in the mirror. It sounds a bit silly, maybe, but it genuinely helps lower that anxiety about speaking in a real situation.
It really does. Rehearsing it takes the pressure off when you're actually standing there at the counter. So that prompts another thought for you listening. Think about other everyday chats you have. Asking for directions. Greeting someone at work. Buying groceries.
What are the key phrases you need for those situations? Could you identify them and practice them, maybe using this coffee shop example as a model?
Yeah, building up your repertoire of ready-to-use phrases.
Okay, so to kind of wrap up our deep dive into this SpeakUp Sessions episode, we've really touched on a lot of practical stuff.
We have. From embedding those small daily English habits
to understanding what keeps you motivated and how to nurture that motivation.
Getting a handle on basic grammar for routines, like the present simple.
And then actively practicing those real-world conversations, like the coffee shop scenario.
And I think the core message that keeps coming through from their episode and our discussion is that fluency isn't magic.
No, not at all. It's built. It's constructed through consistent effort, through those manageable daily actions.
Turning those actions into habits that become just part of your normal routine.
Exactly. And just by engaging with this kind of discussion, thinking about these strategies, you're already taking a positive step on your language journey.
Absolutely. Remember that progress often happens in small steps, not giant leaps. Every little bit counts.
Continuous effort, embracing the process, being kind to yourself when it feels hard. That's the key.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Thinking about everything we've discussed today, what's one small, realistic change you could make to your daily routine starting today?
Yeah, one specific thing you could do to engage with English more actively. What would that action be?
And how do you see that small step, that single adjustment, helping you move towards your bigger, long-term goals for learning English?